Anju, your voice is not audible. Anju, unmute yourself. Your mic is mute. Anju, unmute yourself. Your mic is mute.
Good evening, Ranjani teacher. Good evening, Shakti, Shivashakti ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Vidya.
Teacher.
Jasmine, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Anjani ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
Ranjini teacher.
Yes.
Ranjini teacher, Anju teacher has muted her phone mic.
Dr. Premalata ma'am, good evening.
Madam, good evening, madam. Vanakkam, madam.
வணக்கம்.
Ranjani, madam, good evening. Blackie,
யாரு?
நீங்க தான்
Thank you.
பளிச்சுன்னு நல்லா இருக்கு.
நீங்க ட்ரெஸ் சொல்றீங்களா என்ன சொல்றீங்களான்னு தெரியல.
ட்ரெஸ் தான் சொல்றேன்.
Dr. Evangeline ma'am, good evening.
Namaskar, good evening. Ravi Govindaraj from Qatar. How are we, madam? How are we doing today?
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Dr.
Ma'am, I just came here just to wish you all the very best. Sorry, yesterday.
It's just joking, sir. Nothing serious.
Thank you. I just sent a message also there, assuming that no, maybe I'll not be able
I
to come here.
thought of really kidding you, just a joke only.
Yeah,
I think
actually,
I
I was
have all the
taking
rights
all
to
these
play.
people, all those people who were already spoken, just before me.
Oh, fine. Okay.
So
Dr.
that is the
Evangeline
only
ma'am, one
purpose
more
that I-
name is
I understood.
ma'am, Dr. Evangeline ma'am,
Yes,
one more name.
he's joining now. He's joining now.
Name ma'am, please.
Don Melvin Whitehead. Don Whitehead.
Shivshakti, ma'am.
Yes ma'am.
Dr. Chitra, I'm panelist.
Okay, ma'am.
Chitra, NSSTD. I'm not co-host. Okay. Anju, can you hear me, Anju?
We are unable to hear him from Ms. Anju.
Anju, your voice is not audible, Anju.
So special thanks
Good evening,
to
Govindaraj, sir.
Dr.
This is
Ranjani.
Srividya.
Dr.
Good evening, Ravi Govindaraj, sir. This is Srividya.
Dr. Shividya, madam, good evening. How are we doing?
Dr.
Thank you.
Evangeline ma'am.
Hello, Ranjini. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes. Mommy,
Hello.
call me.
Yes, Chitra, madam, we are able to hear you.
Okay. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Shivshakti, ma'am.
Good evening, Chitra.
Good evening ma'am, good evening.
Good evening. Can I start my video?
Ma'am.
Yes, you can.
Yes ma'am.
But it is not working. Yes.
Ma'am, your voice is audible ma'am.
What about my video?
No, it's not.
Yes, you are visible and audible.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening to all.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's not, now
Dr.
it's on.
Evangeline, ma'am?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay.
Anju, you are not still audible.
Anju, ma'am? Not audible.
Sir, you have a special backdrop.
Oh yeah, thank you, ma'am.
இப்போ போடாத.
Ma'am, Ranjini, ma'am.
So
Yes,
today
ma'am.
everything is in
Rejoin
blackish.
பண்ண சொல்லுங்க, ma'am.
Yeah.
Anju, ma'am வந்து
Dr.
Exactly.
Evangeline,
Yes, sir.
your slide is
Ma'am?
blackish in color. My background is in blackish in color. Madam Shivashakti's sari is in blackish in color.
Yes. I prefer black almost. Even
So,
my
which
son.
means we are with you.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you very much.
We are trying to motivate you just before the session. Stress
Yeah,
buster session.
sure. It is needed. Really, it's needed because we are running short of time today. So,
I think only Madam Anju is in little tense now actually because of the the audio support. Relax, madam, no problem. Be relaxed. Things will be taken care, no issues. Thank you for showing that first slide, madam, so that now I was really surprised about Professor Premilata, who has shown only 13 slides. And fantastic presentation. I was telling on the other day,
okay.
mine was about 100 plus yesterday. In fact, it was 200 plus. Later, I reduced to 50%.
Okay. I too have very limited slides only.
That's great. Always the great people always, they speak less.
Not like that, sir.
And the content, the quality, it's always on the higher side. So I always appreciate it.
Anju, ma'am? Anju, ma'am?
She's working on it. She's unable to.
Anju, ma'am? Anju, ma'am, use earphone, ma'am.
That's a fantastic idea, using the mobile.
No, Anju, you are not audible.
The mobile phone, use the original sound. There is an option. You click that chat, and then next there is one more line. Use the original sound.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, Anju.
Anju ma'am.
Good evening, Shivashakti ma'am.
Yes, yes. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Ranjit teacher.
Anju ma'am. Anju ma'am, unmute yourself. Anju ma'am, unmute. Please unmute, ma'am. Anju ma'am. Anju ma'am. Dr. Anjani ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Unmute பண்ணு. Please ask her. Unmute பண்ணு.
Anju, Anju, unmute yourself.
Please call her, ma'am. Ranjani ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
We can start, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We can start.
Because 6 o'clock valedictory function.
Sure,
ma'am.
sure, ma'am. Okay. Okay, one second, ma'am. I will ask.
Okay.
I will tell her I will introduce. Okay, ma'am.
She didn't unmute, ma'am. Anju Krishna.
Okay, we can start, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, I'll
please.
start.
Yes, please.
Diversity is something we have in common. So, no doubt it is to be celebrated. For that, what we need is a passion and fascination for diversity and a sense of responsibility to safeguard it. Most renowned Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University and the patron of this webinar, Dr. N. Panjanathan Sir, Honorable Registrar and Co-Patron, Professor V. Balakrishnan Sir, distinguished conveners of the webinar, Professor N. Govindan Sir and Dr. Usha Devi Ma'am, the dynamic organizing secretary, Dr. Shivashakti Rajamal, the energetic organizing joint secretaries and team members, learned resource persons, Dr. Evangeline Whitehead Ma'am, the head of today's academic session, noble participants and friends, a very delightful good evening to all. So, we have reached the final day of our expedition towards embracing diversity. Happy to have you all here. Today, we are honored to have an eminent resource person, Dr. Evangeline Whitehead, former Associate Professor, Department of Education and English Language, Princess Noura bin Abdul Rahman University, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. She will give an insight in the topic, Embracing Diversity, a Practitioner's View. Now the daily reminder, post your questions in the question answer section and chat box. For direct interaction, click raise hand option. Now it's time to give an introduction about our eminent resource person, Dr. Evangeline Whitehead. She has got 18 years of research and teaching experience in universities, including 10 years of foreign service as Associate Professor in the Royal Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In the beginning of her service, she served in the well-reputed College of Education and University Department of Education in India. And she got Best Teacher Award from the Association of Matriculation Schools and their managements in Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry in the year 2002. And she has received appreciation for producing centum results from the former Education Minister of Tamil Nadu, respected Mr. M. Thambidurai in the year 2002, and respected Mr. Semalai in the year 2003. She has got appreciation shield from Saudi universities. She has received Proficiency Award at St. Christopher's College of Education, Chennai during her bachelor's education. And she is a certified cognitive behavior therapist and psychologist. And she is a student counselor and family counselor. And she has published 17 research articles in the highly indexed international journals, including Educational Resource Information Center, shortly mentioned ERIC, US National Department of Education, United States of America. And she is the sole author of 17 educational books published in India and abroad. And she is a recognized and authorized guide and supervisor for research scholars of various universities in India and abroad. And we are really privileged to have you here for leading this session, ma'am, and welcoming you to start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ranjani Devi. It's a very elaborate introduction. I thank you very much. All praises to God Almighty. I praise God for His mercy showering upon us. A very good evening to one and all. At the very outset, I would like to thank the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai, most respected Registrar and Dean of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, the principal of NSS Training College, Pandalam, and all the organizers of the 7 days online international webinar on the title, Honoring Students' Diversities, Mechanisms and Practices. I really congratulate and appreciate the whole team for selecting such a wonderful topic and providing a platform for all the learners to have wonderful discussions about diversity and inclusion in all these 6 days, and this is the 7th day. I thank all the distinguished members for giving me this opportunity to present my views about diversity and inclusion as a practitioner, practicing it to my level best. Diversity and inclusion. Diversity and inclusion is a term you have probably heard several times by now. The concept has continued to gain attention and attraction, of course, and it is the hottest topic everywhere. Words like diversity and inclusion appear foreign countries and India, and it is our culture and belief value systems also. In fact, the topic of diversity and inclusion in India is not new to us. We have a history of positive initiatives in the corporate world. People have been talking about it for a few decades and now, but very few companies actually made this diversity and inclusion a priority. And in schools and colleges, we are doing it for a long time, I believe. What is diversity? Diversity includes all differences that define each of us unique individuals personally in terms of age, religion, education, experience, personality, knowledge, skill sets, and sexual orientation. In the educational settings, diversity involves all aspects of identity and experience, including nationality, ethnicity, language, gender, sexuality, value system, social economic context, and family structure, age, ability, educational background, and learning styles. Inclusion means that all people, regardless of their abilities, disabilities, age, or healthcare needs, have the right to be respected and appreciated as valuable members of their communities and other communities also throughout the world, participate in all recreational activities in neighborhood settings, irrespective of their disability, and it is understood in terms of community such as culture, ethnicity, race, gender, and nationality. It means understanding that each individual is unique and recognizing our individual differences. Now I'll play a very short video. It's a 1-minute video. It gives a definition of what is inclusion. Thank you for watching. Diversity and inclusion is all about understanding each other and moving beyond simple tolerance to embracing and celebrating the rich dimensions of diversity contained within each individual. In the past 6 days, we listened to wonderful lectures and we listened to very thought-provoking sessions. Many questions were raised and all questions were answered effectively. Generally, we have some idea about diversity and inclusion. After these 6 days, our thoughts enhanced more about the hot topic diversity and inclusion. God created each and every one of us with grace and splendor. We are very good in nature, but sometimes we lack simple tolerance and we lack understanding and we exclude people with unconscious bias and black spots. This day is a time to examine ourselves. With what bias I exclude people? What? I exclude people? No way. I exclude people? No way at all. If you say like that, then it is highly welcoming quality. All right, let us examine ourselves. I raise 3 questions to my audience. The first question comes like this. Do we treat everyone equally? Are we treated by everyone equally and everywhere? What is our privilege as a human being? You can put your answers in the chat box. I'll give you just 10 seconds. Yes. Yes, some says yes, some says, of course, yes only most of the time. Okay, fine. We'll proceed. Learn to understand and recognize our privilege. Learning to recognize and understand our privilege is our first privilege, according to me. What is your privilege? What is my privilege? Gender, education, socio-economic privilege, religious privilege, heterosexual privilege, and recently human rights, and more and more. That first comes education privilege. We all know pretty well about free school education in India after independence, after COVID-19. But when it comes to higher education, poverty is a major barrier for a long time. We know very well how many brainies in our society have lost their education, lost the future, and they lost even their precious life. A recent data says presently there are 35 crore students in India. With the COVID-19 hitting India, all schools are being told to move to online teaching. In many of our rural areas, there is low internet facilities and electricity. The internet is available to only 50% of the population, and people can get access only if they can pay for the service. 65% of the whole population either has no electricity, a reduced power supply, or simply they cannot afford to pay electricity bills. Already poor and middle class parents are stretched beyond their means to pay for fees, books, and clothes, and now they are told to buy computers or smartphones and to pay for the internet to access online education. This massive, unexpected burden on families push millions of school students out of education. Then comes socio-economic privilege. You are seeing the slum schools of India now. Socioeconomic privilege actually doesn't mean being super rich. Socioeconomic privilege means being able to afford to go to schools and college. Socioeconomic status is the social standing or class of an individual or group. It is often measured as a combination of education, income, and occupation. Socioeconomic privilege, according to me, is that one has enough food, clothing, shelter, fulfillment of basic needs, and civic amenities and education. Can we say this socioeconomic privilege is a reach to all our students? It is a question. Then comes gender privilege. Most gender privileges are given to males. I'm not a feminist, and I respect all men, but I wish to have personal and social equalities of all humankind and not mankind. It is evident and focused that some of the privileges that men enjoying is based on gender. and how their use of power affected the lives of women. If we look closely at the social status of women and men, we can see that men continue to have privilege over women in many aspects of life. These privileges are obvious, such as being paid more. Women can't even win on that front. And in this slide, in this juncture, I would like to mention some of the inclusive pronouns. Use inclusive personal pronouns in your talk. Normally, we use personal pronouns he, she, him, and her to mention male and female. Currently, there is a change in using these pronouns. Now, people started using gender neutral or gender inclusive pronouns. What are these gender inclusive pronouns? A gender neutral or gender inclusive pronouns is a pronoun which does not associate the gender with the individual who is being discussed. He or she is changed as Z or C, E, V, E, etc. Him or her is Zim, C, M. Her or her, his is there, here, air, whiz. His or her is his, hers. Himself or herself as Z self or herself. These pronouns are all inclusive pronouns. Now it's now started appearing everywhere. I have given a table of gender inclusive words. All are common words we already know. I am giving it here to remind and just focusing light on it. We often use pronouns in our writing. Academic writers have to ensure they are not presenting a bias by assuming the gender of people. For example, when writing about teachers, a writer may find him or herself referring to a teacher as she without knowing the gender of the teacher. To avoid this, either vary the gender used to refer to people or avoid gender pronouns. Though this style of writing is not in widespread use, they have been employed in writing for gender neutral language by those who dislike the standard terms he, she, or singular they, like that. Nowadays, you can see people who entertain and use gender inclusive pronouns. Language privilege. Our language is for the most part a coincidence having to do with where we were born or raised, what our racial or ethnic background might be, and to some extent the education we receive. National Education Policy 2020 says that the medium of instruction until at least grade 5, but preferably till grade 8 and beyond, will be the home language or mother tongue or local language or regional language. Thereafter, the home or local language shall continue to be taught as a language wherever possible. This will be followed by both public and private schools. As an educator, my suggestion is to have 3 languages, preferably mother tongue, English, and any other language as per the future requirements, job opportunities, and life settlements. Nowadays, we come across people who know more than 5 languages. I have seen almost all Indian taxi drivers in Saudi Arabia and in Arab countries speak Arabic, English, Hindi, Urdu, Tamil, Malayalam, and any other regional languages like Kannadam and all. Indian nurses in the hospitals of Arab countries speak 5 languages. So this is up to the individual capability and interest. No language will be imposed on any state. Human rights. I don't talk about these pictures and the pictures itself talking to you. Fine. Human rights are the basic rights and freedoms that belong to every person in the world from birth until death. These basic rights are based on shared values like dignity, fairness, equality, respect, and independence. International Bill of Rights talks about the right to equality and freedom from discrimination, the right to life, liberty, and personal security, freedom from torture and degrading treatment, the right to equality before the law, the right to a fair trial, the right to privacy, freedom of belief and religion, freedom of opinion, Okay, the next privilege is handedness privilege. Discussion of handedness is one way to introduce the concept of privilege. Handedness does not carry the emotional charge attached to other differences in today's society. However, left-handed people face numerous daily obstacles, including the risk of accidents caused by operating instruments designed for right-handed people, right-handed users. Yet right-handed people are often unaware of the privileges they enjoy everywhere. In my university, there is one left pad attached chair in every row, and in a classroom, you can have at least six or seven chairs provided for left-handed learners. It is a beautiful inclusion of facility in the classrooms. I believe our Indian classrooms are also have these facilities. Right-handedness is considered normal, while left-handedness has historically been perceived as deviant, dangerous, and sinister. Left-handed people frequently change their behaviors to fit into a right-handed world. Still, we have beliefs that we should receive money in the right hand, eat in the right hand, write in the right hand, and using left hand for all these matters are disrespect and bad manner. The society may view left-handed people as awkward or strange, and left-handed people often believe this about themselves sometimes. My son is a dominant left-hander. In his young age, I compelled him to write in the right hand. The child couldn't cooperate and started avoiding writing, and later on he practiced writing. Except writing, he does all his work in the left hand only. Even now, I feel sorry for those days. I compelled him to practice writing in his right hand. Thank God, after a point of time, I started admiring his left hand practice and uniqueness. Unconscious bias against diversity and inclusion. As I said, we are all good people, but sometimes unconsciously we exclude people. Unconscious bias is an automatic mental shortcut used to process information and make decisions quickly. It is a human attitude and stereotype that people unconsciously attribute to another person or group of people that affect the person or group. Unconscious bias is otherwise called implicit bias, is often defined as prejudice or unsupported judgments in favor of or against one person or group as compared to another in a way that is usually considered unfair. As a result of unconscious bias, certain people benefit and other people are penalized and excluded. Unconscious bias is something we are often unaware of, but which creates barriers that prevent diversity and inclusion in our community and society and workplace, especially damaging relationships that could foster creative and innovative ideas. Halo effect. Halo effect is sometimes called halo error. It is a cognitive bias. It is the tendency for positive impressions of a person, company, brand, or product in one area to positively influence one's opinion or feelings in other areas. Halo effect is a well-known cognitive bias. Many times, unconsciously, we judge someone, something, or someplace as likable and being positive based on a single positive aspect. The halo effect, which is a cognitive bias, can possibly prevent someone from accepting a person or a product or a brand based on the idea of an unfounded belief on what is good or bad. I would like to explain it with an example. Especially for the youngsters, it would be beneficial. Seeing the outward appearance of a boy to a girl or vice versa lead them to a marriage settlement. By merely seeing the outward appearance, they take major decisions, and finally, at the time when they realize it, everything, including a peaceful life, has gone from them. This is halo effect. They make constant error in judgments, and it is the reflection of their individual preferences. Some people go with their whims and fancies. They go with their choices and wishes, no matter how unreasonable it may seem. I can list out n number of such cases that comes every day. The Facebook and Instagram attractions are good examples. As teachers, it is our responsibility to educate our learners, value education and decision-making skills. The another effect is called horn effect. It's another very interesting bias. It's also a cognitive bias. I prepared these comics using Pixton tool. As we are not discussing tools here, I'm not elaborating it. Two guys are now coming for an interview. One is average in merits and the other one is very smart. The manager selects a candidate with physical appearance, not giving importance to merits. Physical appearance is a major criteria for our inclusion and exclusion. I hope you all agree with me. Now, take just 10 seconds and see the picture. I'm sure you like the one who is lean and beautiful. Probably you will give the number 4 and 5 to the persons who are in second and third. It occurs when we let the overall appraisal of something be based on one negative trait. The horn effect is when you judge a person and attribute negative qualities to them based on one known quality. For example, physically unattractive people are perceived to be less trustworthy, even though there is no connection between knowledge, talents, morality, and physical appearance. The horn effect plays an important role in the hiring process. By seeing a mere appearance, people do exclusions that much more affected and collapsed many people's life. As a teacher, it is very hard to say that many teachers do favors and partiality to the learners. All horn effect. At home, parents, especially fathers, psychologically abuse their adolescent and adult children. We see it everywhere. Partner separation, anxiety, and yielding as a means of expression are all horn effects. Then comes affinity bias, like me tendency. Affinity bias is the unconscious tendency to get along with others whom are like us. It is easy to socialize and spend time with others who are like us. It requires more effort to bridge differences when diversity is present. Affinity bias or like me tendency lead us to favor people who are more like us. That is, they look like us, they sound like us, and they behave similarly to ourselves. With affinity bias, we would tend to ignore faults in people who are more like us and notice faults in people who are less like us. We exclude people in this way too. A well-known idiom says, birds of a feather flocks together, which essentially means that we naturally gravitate towards people who are more like ourselves, with whom we have more in common. Okay. May I request any one of the panel members who can unmute and help me saying the colors? Can I have a person, a panelist, can unmute and talk to me?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
I like red and green.
Oh, fine. Yes, one more color you don't like. I think red and green you like the most, right? Hello? Hello? Okay. The next slide. Yes. Yes, anyone can answer. Yeah. Can anyone say read the color? Name the color of the word, not the word. Yes. Can you say the color?
Yellow, green, red,
Very good.
blue, red,
Very good.
green,
Very good.
red.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Excellent. So this is called Stroop effect. John Ridley Stroop in the year 1930 described the Stroop effect. The Stroop test is a widely used, well-established methodology that reveals various brain functions and implicit cognitive workings. The Stroop effect is a phenomenon that occurs when you must say the color of a word but not the name of the word. In the first slide, you say the colors easily without hesitations because your brain is comfortable with the colors already known. In the second slide, colors and words did not match. It has created a mild, imperceptible hesitation. With the same hesitation, we exclude people who are not in our comfort zone. Stroop effect shows how our embedded knowledge about our environment impacts how we interact with it. Then comes conformity bias. In the first picture, people do not believe the inconvenient truth, but they confirm that the reassuring lie is better. With that confirmation, they exclude the inconvenient truth. Imagine that you have tried to reach a friend. This is an example. You are trying to reach a friend with whom you have a good relationship by phone or email, or you meet him personally for some time and leaving messages, WhatsApps, etc. Recently, you receive no calls from him in return. In a situation like this, it is easy to jump to conclusions in an intuitive manner that your friend wants to avoid you. Your mind easily confirms that your friend is avoiding you, and you start believing that your friend is definitely avoiding you. Of course, the danger is that you leave this belief unchecked in your mind and start to act as though it were true. Your mind tries to search reasons to give weight to your belief that your friend avoids you. With that belief, you start excluding your friend, and that is conformity bias. So conformity bias, this is a statement or a definition of American Psychological Association. Conformity bias is the tendency to look for information that supports rather than rejects one's perceptions, typically by interpreting evidence to confirm existing beliefs while rejecting or ignoring any conflicting data. Confirmation bias, that the tendency to process information with one's existing beliefs. This biased approach to decision making is largely unintentional and often results in ignoring inconsistent information. Existing beliefs can include one's expectations in a given situation and predictions about a particular outcome. Especially, people are likely to process information to support their own beliefs when the issue is highly important or self-relevant. For example, during the election season, people tend to seek positive information that paints their favorite candidates in a good light, and they will also look for information that casts the opposing candidate in a negative light. Then comes social comparison bias. Social comparison bias is having feelings of dislike and competitiveness with someone that is seen physically or mentally better than yourself. This is a definition of Wikipedia. Yes, misunderstandings, dislikes, groupisms, and ego clashes in the working place are mainly due to the social comparison bias. We constantly compare ourselves to others in order to develop a sense of individual or group identity. And we tend to see ourselves as better than or superior to other groups. We exclude many people in our working place and community with the mentality of social comparison bias. Then comes gender bias, sexual harassment, and catcalling on the streets are prime examples of how women's right to walk freely around their environment is restricted. Gender stereotypes at school and work where girls should stay at home and help with housework and childcare, and boys have education. But presently it is changing, I agree. But in slum areas, but in remote village areas, it's still happening. I can show a number of such villages in Tamil Nadu. Objectification and poor representation. Girls are treated as a commodity or an object without regard to their personality or dignity. In the media, women are photoshopped and airbrushed, leading to much more emphasis and value being put on their external appearance above their capacities. This effect that affects girls' body image, their self-esteem, and ultimately the value they put on themselves. Girls are represented poorly in entertainment and the media in ways that reinforce damaging gender stereotypes and traditional roles. Girls are showing in a reducive and unfair way. Performance reward bias occurs when employers, managers, and colleagues reward an employee of one gender differently from another gender. Rewards may be in the form of promotions, raises, or other merit-based rewards. Another one is called the glass ceiling. The glass ceiling is a metaphor for the evident but intangible hierarchical impediment that prevents minorities and women from achieving elevated professional success. Due to this bias, women and minorities experience a barrier that prevents them from reaching upper level roles in leadership and the C suit, not G suit, because all our professors are running behind G suits now. So this is C suit. Most of the time, hiring managers are unconsciously gender biased, most of the time. Professional development and career advancements are affected by gender bias, and it influences mentors and mentoring opportunities. That is reflection in comparison and rewards. Sexual harassment in the workplace affects gender differently. Now I am going to play another short video. Please watch.
அடுத்து மற்றொரு ஐக்கன் ஆஃப் இன்ஸ்பிரேஷனை நம்ம பார்க்க போகிறோம். இந்த விருதை கொடுப்பதற்காக ரிட்டையர்ட் டிஜிபி ஜாங்கிட் ஐபிஎஸ் அவர்களை அன்புடன் மேடைக்கு அழைக்கின்றோம்.
இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன்ற இந்த இரண்டாவது விருதை யாரு தட்டிட்டு போக போறாங்க, அவங்கள பத்தி ஒரு அழகான வீடியோ இது உங்களுக்காக.
Behind Woods gold medal for the icon of inspiration, Preetika Yashini.
மக்களே ஒரு பெரிய கைத்தட்டல் கொடுத்துடலாம். கே பிரீத்திகா யாஷினிக்காக the icon of inspiration, India's first third gender police officer. பிரீத்திகா, அவ்வளோ சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு, மனசார எங்க எல்லாருக்குமே எங்க அவ்வளோ சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு. இந்த சந்தோஷத்தை நாங்க உங்க மம்மியோடய ஷேர் பண்ணோம்னு ஆசைப்படுறோம். உங்க அம்மாவை கூப்பிட்டுலாமா ஸ்டேஜுக்கு? பிரீத்திகாவோட மம்மி ப்ளீஸ் ஸ்டேஜுக்கு வாங்க. பிரீத்திகா, வாழ்க்கையில் எவ்வளோ கஷ்டங்கள், அதெல்லாம் தாண்டி இப்படிப்பட்ட ஒரு சொசைட்டி அதெல்லாம் அடித்து பிடிச்சி நான் ஜெயிச்சு காட்டுவேன் அப்படின்ற ஒரு நம்பிக்கையோட இன்னைக்கு இவ்வளோ ப்ரௌடாக நிற்கிறீங்கல்ல. சல்யூட் டு யோர் ஹார்ட் ஒர்க் அண்ட் உங்களோட நம்பிக்கைக்கு ஒரு பெரிய பெரிய சல்யூட்.
தேங்க்யூ ஸோ மச்.
என்ன சொல்லணும்னு ஆசைப்படுறீங்க?
முதல்ல தமிழுக்கும் தாய் தந்தைக்கும் முதல் வணக்கம். மற்றும் இங்கே இருக்கக்கூடிய அனைவருக்கும் என்னுடைய பொன்னான மாலை வணக்கத்தை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். ரொம்ப ரொம்ப சந்தோஷமாக இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு தருணம். இன்னும் ரொம்ப எனக்கு இந்த அவார்ட் கிடைச்சதோடு அதுவும் ஜாங்கிட் சார் கையால் வாங்குறது இன்னைக்கு ரொம்பவே ஹாப்பி. ஏன்னா காவல்துறையில் ஒரு தன்னிகரற்ற ஒரு மனிதர் அப்படின்னா சாரை சொல்லலாம். ஏன்னா தீரன் அதிகாரம் ஒன்றும் படம் கூட வந்துச்சு, அதோட சாரோட ஸ்டோரிஸ் தான் அந்த பவாரியா கேங்ஸ் பிடிச்சது. ஸோ சாரோட ஸ்பெஷாலிட்டி நிறைய சொல்ல போகலாம். ஸோ நிறைய காவல்துறையில் இருக்கக்கூடியவங்களுக்கு சார் மிகப்பெரிய ரோல் மாடல். ஸோ அவர் கையால் இந்த அவார்ட் வாங்கினது எனக்கு இன்னும் ரொம்ப ரொம்ப ஹாப்பி. ஸோ அதுக்காக பிகைன் வுட்ஸ் கோல்டு மெடலுக்கு இன்னும் ஸ்பெஷலாகவே தேங்க்ஸ் சொல்லலாம். ரொம்ப ஹாப்பி. அது மட்டும் இல்லை, இந்த தருணத்தில் எனக்கு நிறைய பேர் ஹெல்ப் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. இதுக்கு முன்னாடி ஐகான் இன்ஸ்பிரேஷன் அப்பாங்கிறது கிரேஸ் பண்ணு என்னுடைய தோழி தான். அப்புறம் என்னுடைய அம்மா, என்னுடைய அட்வொகேட்ஸ், இந்த நிலைமைக்கு இங்கே ஸ்டேஜ் போகிறதுக்கு நிறைய பேர் ரொம்ப ஹெல்ப் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. அவங்களுக்கெல்லாம் உண்மையிலே இந்த நேரத்தில் நான் நன்றி சொல்ல மிகப்பெரிய கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கேன்.
Thank you for watching. Bias in treating transgenders. Transgenders and gender diverse individuals often face, I'm sorry, they are always facing discrimination. No one can deny the fact that school peers and sometimes teachers are the major causes of the problems in their teenagers. And of course, family and siblings are also included. Do we really have a heart to give them a place in our midst? Do we really have a heart to give them a place in our midst? Please examine. Here and there, somewhere, very few are accepted and they achieved. But it is not the matter to say that transgenders are included. Yes, for survival, for food, and for shelter, they do illegal and bad things, I agree. But it is not the society and the family are responsible for the way of life. Let us examine ourselves. How much we are biased in treating them. When we meet them, while crossing a toll gate, do we say a good word with a smile or we mock at them? Diversity and inclusion will not come in one swing of a magic stick. My dears, diversity and inclusion will not come in one swing of a magic stick. It should come from our hearts and thoughts, from every one of us. It is not a matter to be discussed just for 7 days and go away minding my own business. Everybody is responsible. Everybody is responsible. Then comes contrast bias. It is a human tendency to mentally upgrade or downgrade an object when comparing it to a contrasting object. In selection, people often confuse. It can be either selecting a saree in Pothis or selecting a life partner in marriages. Ikkareikku akkarai pachai mentality. Due to this bias, many times we go with the wrong choice and definitely exclude best people. We exclude best people. Ageism. Ageism is a age discrimination against individuals or groups on the basis of their age. This may be casual or systematic. In many occasions, aged people are treated unfairly. Ageism has great impacts on confidence, job prospects, financial situation, and quality of life. Organizations' attitude on old people is very severe in this pandemic. Aged people are targeted for terminations. I can say many examples happening around. One middle-aged man was terminated without prior notice, and he couldn't bear the shock, and he didn't want to face the family who completely depend on his salary. Jumped out from a 4-storied building, found dead. Happened just 1 week before in Chennai city. I don't want to show the photos. I'm just telling this. Unconscious name bias. This discrimination is rarely spoke about. It happens all the time and its negative impact is enormous. Based on the meaning of the names, its pronunciation, its uniqueness, its gender affiliation, and its racial affiliation, people are discriminated. Someone will hear a name, and if the name doesn't register or it is uncomfortable with, they may treat the persons differently without even knowing what they are doing it. If a name sounds African, Indian, or anything non-Western, people may make assumptions about the person or rule them out of opportunities. In general, people assume that someone with a double-barreled surname is privileged or posh. But it is the racial element that makes this kind of bias so damaging. Then, physically challenged. Most of us believe that we are fair and equitable and evaluate others based on objective facts. We say, I know my mind, I am able to access others in a fair and accurate way. But in fact, even the most egalitarian have unconscious bias. They are triggered automatically in a fraction of a second without their unconscious awareness or intention and cause attitudes about the preferences for people based on characteristics such as age, gender, disability, and religion. Nowadays, physically challenged people are in our midst in higher educational classrooms. Do we have infrastructures for their convenience? Do we have a session or at least a collection of braille books in our libraries? We have very big libraries in most of the reputed colleges. Do we? I don't know. I don't know. For 10 years, I'm not here. I really don't know. Maybe you have a one cupboard at least for the visual challenged people. I really don't know. Do we have ramp facilities for the physically challenged students to get access to our buildings easily with their wheelchairs? We do witnessing the struggles they face in our educational institutions. I agree, there is awareness started creating now. I don't say we purposely avoid them or not helping them, but there are some blind spots in our brain which make some blocks or disassociations in our mind creates undesirable consequences regardless of the goodness of our conscious intentions. What are the blind spots or mind bugs that blocks our good intention of accepting diversity and inclusion? It was written on the back of a truck, if you cannot see your mirror, I cannot see you. I'm not talking about the blind spots in our eyes, but the blind spots in our brain and subconscious mind. Apart from being biased in the matters discussed above, we have so many blind spots. Blind spot is actually a metaphor, talks about human behavior. Blind spots or mind bugs refer to the unconscious triggers and associations made by our brains that are often hidden to us because they are embedded preferences, not reflective ones. The blind spots often bother us because they are at direct odds with our chosen beliefs. The brain contains an unconscious warehouse full of associations between certain people and particular characteristics that often causes misidentify our fellow humans. Social mind bug is a very dangerous matter of diversity and inclusion. Once, I had to fly from one place to other. I was flying for a very urgent work. I got a seat near the pilot's cabin. To my unpleasant surprise, two lady pilots got inside all of a sudden and they entered the cabin very casually and very stylishly moved to the cabin. Seeing the lady pilots, immediately I had a feel like jumping out of the flight. I strongly believed only male pilots can handle aircrafts. In many circumstances, we don't realize that there is a better stuff is inside every person capable of being inclusive. I'll tell you another incident. A father and his son have a car accident. The father dies at the scene and the son, badly injured, is rushed to the hospital. In the operation theater, the surgeon looks at the boy and says, I can't operate on this boy because he is my son. How could this possibly be the case? How could the surgeon be the boy's father when the story started that the dad died in the same car and the boy to the emergency room? What are we missing here? In case, if you are stumped at IVOS, the solution is very simple. The doctor is the boy's mother. In our brain, we make some unconscious associations and That is why my mind was associated pilots with adult males, and in the second incident, doctors with adult males. We know pretty well that females are doctors too, and female pilots are everywhere, but we instinctively react, and this is what psychologists call disassociation. And it has undesirable consequences regardless of the goodness of our conscious intentions. With these blind spots or mind bugs, we exclude many people around us. For no reasons, we avoid some street vendors, some efficient doctors, some schools, some teachers and students, what not. It is a very big list. Now we enter into a Padlet session. So far, we have seen all types of bias and mind bugs. Now it is time to react. There is a QR code visible in the screen. Take your mobiles and scan the QR code. You will enter into a Padlet interface. Participants who are watching the session in a smartphone can take up the URL code and enter it into the Padlet screen. As one step forward to entertain diversity and inclusion, type 2 of your genuine future decisions, please, to bring inclusion and decision for not disturbing inclusion. To bring inclusion and decision for not disturbing inclusion in your classrooms, in your neighborhood, in your country, or in the world. Your genuine decisions will be the success of this 7 days international online webinar. I request all the participants, either you can scan this QR code or you can go with the URL which will be posted in the chat box now. You can also write your mistakes. It's okay if you don't write your names. Your heartfelt decisions and thoughts are much more important. Yes, I'm getting responses. Yes, you can see the responses. One step. Yes, stubborn. Yes, mingle all students. Thank you. Love one and all. Thank you. Yes. Yes, thank you, participants. Thank you very much. I'm happy. I'm really happy. Love one and all. Love empathy. Mingle students. Nice. Have faith. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, very good. Fine, fine. Love one and all. Yes. Develop positive attitude. Very good, very good, very good. Respecting uniqueness of every person. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Consider and care. Very good, very good. We should love and respect every individual. Fantastic, fantastic, excellent, excellent. Dr. Pramod has written a very interesting matter. Love one and all, empathy. Excellent, 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 excellent. I'll collect all your opinions, all your polling ideas, and I'll submit it to Dr. Sivasakti Rajamma. And this will be the success of this program idea. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for your wonderful, wonderful, wonderful response. I salute you all. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Now let us have a very short video. Of course, it will go up to 6 or 7 minutes. One gentle participant raised a question to one of the resource person about this national education policy, and madam answered very well. But I would like to show it as a short video. It consists of 6 minutes. Bear with me. And it is the only big video. I will not take much of your time. It is about only the inclusion is mentioned in the policy 2020. That is National Education Policy 2020. Hello friends, welcome to this video. This video describes about Equitable and Inclusive Education, National Education Policy 2020. I am Dr. Evangeline Whitehead, created and presenting this video. Education is the greatest tool for achieving social justice and equality. Inclusive and equitable society is a place where every citizen has the opportunity to dream, thrive, and contribute to the nation. The educational system of India aims that no children loses opportunity to learn because of birth and background. This national education policy reaffirms that aim and progress towards its achievement. Part 1. School education. Trained and qualified social workers from civil society organizations will be connected to schools dealing with empowerment of persons with disabilities at the state and district level. Children with disabilities will be enabled to fully participate in the regular schooling process from the foundational stage to higher education. One-on-one teachers and tutors, peer tutoring, open schooling, appropriate infrastructure, and suitable technological interventions to ensure access can be particularly effective for certain children with disabilities. Special educators with cross-disability training, especially for children with severe or multiple disabilities. Secondary specializations will be included in the curriculum of teacher education. Every student will take a fun course, a vocational training during grades 6 to 8. All students will participate in a 10-day bagless period, sometimes during the 10 days course. Bagless days will be encouraged throughout the year for various types of enrichment activities involving arts, quizzes, sports, and vocational crafts. Socio-economically disadvantaged groups can be broadly categorized based on gender identities, particularly female and transgender individuals. Educational facilities will be provided to students from socio-cultural identities such as scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, OBCs, and minorities, geographical identities such as students from villages, small towns, and aspirational districts. Educational facilities will be provided to students with disabilities, including learning disabilities. Socio-economic conditions such as migrant communities, low-income households, children in vulnerable situations, victims of or children of victims of trafficking, orphans including child beggars in urban areas, and the urban poor. Bridging these children belonging to scheduled castes will continue to be one of the major goals. Government of India will constitute a gender inclusion fund to build the nation's capacity to provide equitable quality education for all girls as well as transgender students. Inclusion fund schemes shall also be developed to address analogous access issues for other socio-economic disadvantaged groups. A new National Assessment Center, PARAC, a very smart digital examination platform, will formulate guidelines and recommend appropriate tools for conducting students' assessment from the foundational stage to higher education, including for entrance exams, in order to ensure equitable access and opportunities for all students with learning disabilities. Part 2. Higher education. Steps to be taken by governments for higher education. Earmark suitable government funds for the education of socio-economic disadvantaged groups. Set clear targets for higher cross-enrollment ratio for socio-economic disadvantaged groups. Enhance gender balance in admissions to higher educational institutions. Enhance access by establishing more high-quality higher educational institutions in aspirational districts and special education zones containing larger number of socio-economic disadvantaged groups. Develop and support technology tools for better participation and learning outcomes. Steps to be taken by all higher educational institutions. Make admissions process more inclusive. Make curriculum more inclusive. Increase employability potential of higher education programs. Develop more degree courses taught in Indian languages and bilingually. Ensure all buildings and facilities are wheelchair accessible and disabled friendly. Develop bridge courses for students that come from disadvantaged educational backgrounds. Ensure sensitization of faculty, counselor, and students on gender identity issue and its inclusion in all aspects of the higher educational institutions. Strictly enforce all no discrimination and anti-harassment rules. Mitigate opportunity costs and fees for pursuing higher education and provide scholarships to socio-economically disadvantaged students. Provide socio-emotional and academic support through suitable counseling and mentoring programs. Develop institutional development plans that contain specific plans for action on increasing participation from socio-economic disadvantaged groups. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Inclusive pedagogy in diverse learning environments. I'll take another 15 minutes and I'll explain it and then I'll finish it. Inclusion is not a set of strategies. Inclusion is not a placement issue. Inclusion is about belonging to a community or a group of friends, as a community or a neighborhood. If your student feels strange and doesn't get a feeling of belonging in your classroom in any way, their inclusion doesn't happen. Teacher's instruction comes there to help the learner in the situation. Instruction is not just teaching. Instruction is intentional. Instruction makes the learner more comfortable in the classroom and more successful. Success is not only meritorious, but the all-round personality development of a learner. Inclusion is something that should happen in the mind of a teacher. Good instruction leads to good outcome. A good instructional strategy is required for a good inclusive education. What students learn in inclusive classroom? First one is membership. Membership is an outcome of inclusive instruction where the learners feels a physical, mental, and emotional accommodation in the classroom and participate in all the instructional strategies and activities in a meaningful way. Then comes relationship. Relationship is how a learner mingles with peers and teachers in a one-to-one basis in the classroom. There he receives help and he gives help to other peers in the classroom. Then comes skill. Skill is another outcome. These things together called inclusive education. I get a mild disturbance there. Is there any problem? Today's students need to be prepared to succeed with a more diverse and more global workforce than ever before. Research has shown that more diverse organizations make better decisions with better results. The effects of socioeconomic diversity can be especially powerful for students from low-income families who historically often have not have equal access to the resources they need to success. Diversity in the classroom is a valuable opportunity to enrich student learning. Diversity in pedagogy, curricula, and student identities help enable critical thinking, communication, and problem-solving competencies required to impart impactful learning for present-day students. Effective strategies for inclusive classroom. Teachers who teach outside their cultural setup and do not have familiarities with the learners and their learning styles. It is valuable for them to learn about the identities and backgrounds in their classroom. I use anecdotal records for every individual student to note down their prior education system, perceived learning preferences, and it helped me to know and acknowledge diversity in my team and follow up with individual students to make sure their needs are being met. I considered for mandatory office hours appointments for students. Of course, it was a part of our schedule. Ask about their transition to college and prior educational experiences. Meet them frequently on a one-on-one basis. Examine your own bias and consider where they may have originated. Excuse me. Yes, examine your own bias and consider where they may have originated. Use third person's point of view. Don't make comparisons and choose words carefully if comparisons required. Use specific when write about people. The same is true when describing people's cultures and ethnicities. Use inclusive words in the classroom, inclusive activities in your lesson plans. Validate the experiences and feelings of people, not the color and caste. Avoid jokes or statements related to community, caste, and color. By cracking a joke related to any particular community, exclude them. As elders, we sow poison in the minds of youngsters. In the classroom, if you are not comfortable or do not feel safe being confrontational, try to break down their thought process and ask questions. Remember, if you don't say anything or laughing along, that implies that you agree. Remove negative expectations and set the right expectations. Often get feedback and give feedback. Teachers need diversity training. Diversity training asks teachers to understand their students' backgrounds. Implicit bias training goes a step further and asks teachers to look at themselves. Teachers need training to handle challenged students in the classroom. Many students with disabilities spend most of their days in a general education classrooms. But the teachers, they often lack training in how to meet their needs. National Education Policy 2020 has plans for all these drawbacks, and hopefully they will implement these matters shortly. Teachers to be trained on a host of non-academic issues, they have to identify people with mentality of suicide ideas, and they have to get training of this suicide prevention, to food allergies, to sexual assault, or identifying transgenders in the classrooms, etc. Then comes solution tree partners. in the department or staff room to be encouraged. Solution tree partners with the brightest minds in education have to join with every teacher to develop the services and preparing suitable teaching tools to use in the inclusive classrooms. Then have intergroup contact. Meet and engage with individual members or groups of other schools. Individualization. Consider the attributes of the individual apart from his group or her group. Focus on his or her individual characteristics, traits, interests, and preferences, rather than stereotypes about persons. Form peer groups in the class itself to support the individuals with disabilities in any form. Perspective talking. Try to understand from students' perspective what they encounter and what adaptive techniques they might use to function successfully. Self-monitoring appraisals. Continuously self-monitor your perceptions, your judgments, behaviors, decisions, and actions to check for the influence of implicit bias. Write all your behaviors in the appraisal and cancel whichever is not right and correct yourself. Write all your negatives and bias in a paper. Strike it out, crush the paper, and throw it away. This activity is a psychological practice of deleting negatives in your subconscious mind. Of course, it is a kind of blind spot which helps you to believe that all your negatives have gone out. Avoid microaggressions in the classrooms. It is a great insult to your students. Microaggressions include religion, physical ability, gender, or appearance, are not life-threatening by nature, but they are still dangerous. Do not participate in gripe sessions about students. Faculty members who gripe about students are establishing a culture of failure for their students, their department, and their own teaching. Inclusive lesson plans. So, inclusive lesson plans consist of the range of approaches to teaching that consider the diverse needs and backgrounds of all students to create a learning environment where all students feel valued and where all students have equal access to learn. While preparing a lesson plan, think about different activities which should be suitable to everyone in the class. Make your lessons into small portions and introduce interactive activities as given in the slide. It is just an idea. Here is a sample lesson plan. You can take this idea, make flipped classroom so that you can have higher order thinking activities, include everyone in the classroom. For example, greeting and introduction, attention seeking questions. Activity 1, include all learners. Teachers input 1, participatory activity related to that input, first input, on interactive videos, teacher input 2, participatory activity 2, related to the second input, interactive games, teacher input 3, if you have time, and recall, review, and give worksheets and individual attention and end up the session. Excuse me. Active learning strategies to include all learners together. You can use discussions, role play, debates, 1-minute paper reflections, pausing, 3-step interviews, case studies, peer collaboration, etc. Like inquiry-based learning, discovery-based learning, experiential learning, all these things will be very, very useful for an inclusive classroom. You can use video making tools like Render Forest, Animaker, Edpuzzle, Pixten, OpenShot, etc. So, we come to the last part of the session. Diverse classrooms contribute to students' emotional intelligence, improving empathy and perspective taking in ways that prepare them to thrive personally and professionally. Learning among diverse peers and professors inculcates critical thinking abilities, promoting students to challenge their own received wisdom and culturally bonded assumptions. Properly cultivated diversity in the classroom expands students' interpretive capacity, showing how particular content can be approached from multiple angles. Diverse classrooms promote listening and expression and teamwork across different communication styles. Student diversity also contributes to professional growth and satisfaction. I come to the conclusion, and there is a small story. I hope you heard about Pygmalion effect. Pygmalion effect is a beautiful thing, which is always considered in the classroom. Positive expectations influence performance positively, and negative expectations influence performance negatively. Pygmalion effect is a phenomenon in which the greater the expectation placed upon people, often children, students, and employees, the better they perform. This poet was a Roman poet called Ovid. In his Metamorphoses, book 10, relates that Pygmalion, a sculptor, Pygmalion was a sculptor in our hero. He totally disgusted by a group of prostitutes, and he starts hating all women and swears off all women. But certainly, he has ideas about an ideal woman with beautiful beauty and noble characters. As he is a sculptor, he goes to his studio and decides to sculpt his ideal woman out of ivory. Pygmalion makes the statue so beautiful, pouring all his great ideas of a great woman to his total expectations, an ideal of womanhood. After finishing it, he himself admires his own statue and falls in love with it. There comes a festival of his god, and he prays that the goddess will give him a wife just like the statue. So the goddess decides to do him a favor and brings this statue to life. The statue becomes a real woman, and she and Pygmalion got married and have 2 children. And this is the end of the story. If parents and teachers expect enhanced performance from students, definitely students show that enhancement. Teachers' high expectations and their motivational words about their learners' future success has miraculous effect on their learners' progress. This is not magic, but it is psychological. N number of longitudinal researchers have proved this. Never forget failure in the classroom. If you know a test is particularly difficult, tell your students that the test is difficult, but that you are surely will win. You motivate your students like that, and and they will definitely win that exam. And another opposite to this Pygmalion effect is called Golem effect. That is entirely opposite. Golem effect is a psychological phenomenon in which lower expectations placed upon individuals, either by supervisors or teachers and parents, lead to poor performance by the individual. It is a form of self-fulfilling prophecy. So use Pygmalion effect and don't use this Golem effect in your inclusive classrooms. The destiny of a nation is shaped in its classrooms. The following video shows the best practices of an inclusive classroom, the takeaway of this session. you for watching. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a network issue. I'm not sure whether I'm audible. Okay. Within 5 minutes, I'll finish. So we should be aware of our own mind bugs. Diversity and inclusion is in our midst. Yes, of course. As a beautiful ivory statue, it is our responsibility to give life to the beautiful statue of diversity and inclusion. Inclusion is a celebration of diversity. It is a privilege. If we care about diversity, then we can make inclusion come true. With smart instructional strategies and practices, we facilitate actions where everyone benefits. This is the power and promise of inclusion. Make sure everyone is supported, everyone is accepted, and everyone benefits. As a token of respect and gratitude for inviting me as a resource person in the chain of international conferences and webinars of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, I would like to gift my National Education Policy 2020 videos. There are 3 videos to our Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University for using it for the student teachers of the university and to all students of India. I extend my sincere thanks to all who have connected to this international webinar. With these words, I'm Dr. Evangeline signing off. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for such an empowering session, ma'am.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Dr.
Evangeline madam, very nice session we had, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
You have explained
more
almost
information.
all aspects of diversity, inclusion.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Those different effects, biases, strategies, everything.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
And you have explained so beautifully and energetically that there are no more questions here. Any confusion.
Ranjani madam, for your information, always she will be energetic.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
No questions in the Q&A section, no questions in the chat box, no questions in the YouTube. So everything is so beautifully, everything is explained.
We can take it in other way around also. Maybe it was boring to them. I don't know.
No, ma'am. Very informative session, nice presentation, excellent. Ma'am, I will send you chat box message.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Oh,
Thank you very
box
much.
is overflowing with positive comments,
Yes,
ma'am.
only positive comments only.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Ma'am, always you rock, keep going. Like that one of the participants has said.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Shivashakti ma'am.
Your compliments are my energy.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
What to do? Shall we move on to what of that?
Ma'am, see the chat box, ma'am. Dr. Evangeline, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, okay, Ranjani, ma'am. Ranjani, ma'am, okay. Okay.
But there is one question.
Yes.
Madam, as you said in Educational Institute,
Yes.
there is required psychologist not appointed. Is there any measure taking?
Yes, in the National Education Policy, they have mentioned that they'll appoint special educators for handling this the problematic. I should not say that the problematic students, but students with issues, and also they are going to give special training to our teachers also. The teachers who are going to handle the children will be getting regular training. Shortly, I guess. Yeah, they will get a training. Of course, normally in our B.Ed curriculum, we have that matters included already. We are all really capable of handling these matters in our regular classrooms. So apart from that, the government is also will be taking some measures to train our teachers, present teachers and the future teachers.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jayanti, madam, good evening.
Shivashakti, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Shall we move on to vote of thanks?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so it's time to express our gratitude.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening to all of you.
Okay, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Really. No, I always admire Mrs. Evangeline.
Yes, sir.
Thanks a lot,
presentation.
Thank
The
you.
presentation is always to the international benchmark.
Thanks
And I was able today.
She gave 3 sessions, sir. Capacity building program. Yes, sir.
True. I was able to learn a lot from her, particularly in the execution of the National Education Policy 2020. A lot of work I think she has been doing, I think so. So I think I want to learn a lot from her.
Thank
On
you.
the
Thank
top
you
of
very
that,
much, sir. Sir, I am really learning from you, sir. I am
thank
really
you.
learning from you.
Learning is
Your energy is something, it's really miraculous. Yes. I
this only
really,
sharing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Thanks.
very much for your
Thank you.
compliments.
Really, I appreciate all the participants that they are able to gain a lot of information from you, because it is not only the education side, but also the practical side of life. They are able to learn a lot. I guess so, because I am learning means definitely they must be learning. That's what I guess. So excellent evening, and I really enjoyed the evening, and I should appreciate the Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, the team, and also Bharadiyar Education, that university also, because Madam Padmalata is always, Premalata, was always with us. And that our NSS training college, they have selected a good commandos for giving these resources. Thanks a lot. And I had a nice evening. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, sir.
Have a nice
Thanks a
day.
lot, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank
Keep in touch, sir. I will be really missing you, sir. Whenever you find time, just send a message or WhatsApp or whatever it may be.
Madam, I think sir will be busy with the acting then.
Okay.
They have started. They have started calling me. But anyway, I'm just keeping everything in abeyance, and I'm concentrating only on educational aspect nowadays, because NEP 2020 is to be executed at the right time for the benefit of each and every citizen of India. That is how I'm feeling it. And let us all be together along with the participants, because the participants are coming up from various places, from various capabilities. So I'm very happy to share my feelings and my views with everyone. God bless you all. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Ranjini ma'am, there is one question in the YouTube stream.
Okay, Priya.
How to inculcate equality among students? How to inculcate equality among students?
Equality among students means it is in the hands of the teacher to treat everyone equally without bias. And equality, of course, uniform is introduced to enhance that students are equal. And if a boy or a girl in the classroom brings anything to show their richness or anything else, it shouldn't be allowed in the classroom. So inside, when they step in, all students are equal. So these things the teacher has to insist every time. It is in the teacher's hands to create such an environment inside the classroom. If she sees, observes it, something is wrong, and some student is not behaving equally, or he takes right upon some other student or someone, the teacher should find it out, and she has to gently correct it. By counseling, she has to correct it. In this way only we can bring equality in the classroom.
Ma'am, one more. Don't you feel this NEP 2020 will really push and pull the disprivileged children into backward rather than forward?
Yes. See, this national education policy, we should first come to a mentality that someone is doing in the central government and someone is operating. It is in our hands. It is in our hands. We are responsible. The government is created a very beautiful national education policy after 34 years. So it is in our hands. We have to implement it positively in the classrooms. So national education policy holders will not enter every class. The teacher only is going and the parent is at home. Yesterday, Dr. Ravi sir very clearly explained that teachers at home and parents in the school. So it is every teacher's responsibility and students' responsibility, parents' responsibility to make this national education policy a successful one.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. That's all.
Ma'am, Hello, there's a question from Professor Hemilata Talesara ma'am.
Yes.
Why embracing diversity is a challenge?
It is all people's bias and mind-bugged activities. That is what I explained here. It is our own personal negatives in our mind. I told you how we gently exclude people in so many ways. But normally we are all good people. We are all good people. We don't harm anyone. But we exclude people. How is it possible with all the matters I discussed? Yes, it is in our mentality. It is in our hands.
Thank you, ma'am. There is one more question.
Yes.
As you said, the facility in education institute infrastructure not available in rural tribal areas, no electronic net connectivity, lot of problems regarding online classes, measurements taken any.
Sorry, your net is. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Please repeat your question.
As you said, the facility in education institute infrastructure not available in rural tribal areas.
Yes.
Is there any measurement taken like that?
I don't know. You have to check the newspapers and you can inquire the policy makers, policy holders, and you have to just verify it. I don't know. Definitely, when they implement some national education policies, they will go to the next step, and make it very free, very quickly. They'll make it possible everywhere. I know it is not only in the hands of the people, those who rule, but it is in the hands of every one of us.
Thank
you, definitely, they will do everything in a very quick manner.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
I think it's the last question.
Okay.
Kindly suggest tips for effective classroom management amidst diversities.
Yeah, you have to first know the names of all students. Many teachers I have seen, they don't know all the students' names, particularly one or two students' names. They'll repeatedly call them and they do all the activities inside. And these biased behaviors should be removed from the minds of all teachers. And they have to involve all students. And if they have physically challenged or visually challenged students in their classrooms, they have to make some activities accordingly to include all of them. And what else? I have explained it in the lesson plan. So step by step, they can proceed with the classroom teaching, checking everyone is participating. So in this way, they can slowly bring equality and inclusion in the classrooms.
Thank you, ma'am. Is it possible to create a rating scale regarding the inclusion in the classrooms?
Yes, that is what I told you. The teacher should have a self-assessment appraisal. And she has to check whether this inclusion is happening in her class. If at all it's not happening, she has to find out the ways of why it is not happening still. That is, self-appraisals are needed for teachers. And of course, the head of the departments or head of the institutions should also have a appraisal to check. It is not a one-man show. One man cannot make a sound. It is a teamwork. So the teacher and the team, the department or the staff room and the head and the other administrators above the headmasters or headmistresses or the departments, principals, all should join hands and do this.
Thank you, ma'am. There's questions coming. Is NEP 2020 useful for economically weaker sections?
Yeah, definitely. I hope so. I hope so. Yes, they have covered everything. NEP, National Education Policy 2020, is a 66 or 67 pages material, a PDF material, of course. Good evening, sir. Dr. Vijay Kumar, sir. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank
Sorry,
you,
I
ma'am.
could not able to join at the earliest. No problem. Happy to be there.
So
Thank
it is
you, ma'am.
possible. It is possible.
In your busy schedule also you are coming, sir. Very thank you so much, sir.
Yes, madam. Sorry, if any inconvenience, I'm sitting in the car close to the airport.
No problem, sir. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you
Ranjini
so
ma'am,
much.
Thank you, sir.
one more
Yes,
question.
no-
One more. Teachers need psychological training to understand students' physical level and what measures to take.
Sorry, yes.
Teachers need psychological training to understand students' psychological level. What measures to take?
So in their curriculum itself, they have psychology paper and they have educational psychology. In the educational psychology paper, they have all the matters covered in the curriculum of educational psychology, both in the MEd level and B.Ed level. Educational psychology is there. Our teachers, our graduated teachers are all trained to handle students with disabilities in the classroom. So they know. And apart from that, they'll get special training also as per the policy. Let us see what happens. But our country teachers, according to the educational system of India, I'm telling, educational psychology is a major paper for B.Ed students, M.Ed students, and they know how to handle these issues in the classroom. If it is beyond their capability, they can get the help of outsiders. That is what this NAP policy is telling, that outside trained people will join with these people, the teachers and the schools, and they'll support. If it is not, if it is beyond the teacher's control.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your patience and energy to respond all those participants. Thank
My
you
pleasure.
once again.
My
now,
pleasure.
I invite Dr. Chitra, Assistant Professor, NSS Training College, Pandalam, to propose vote of thanks.
Can you hear me, Dr.
Yes,
Ranjini?
yes, you can. You're both visible and audible.
Okay, thank you. Respected dignitaries, respected participants, and my dear friends. First of all, a big namaste to one and all. Now we are at the end of all the technical section of the 7th-day International Seminar on Honorary Student Diversities, Mechanism and Practices, jointly organized by Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University and Mechanism and NSS Training College, Pandalam. Since we have a formal vote of thanks section today, I am directly going to my duty to propose vote of thanks to our resource person, Dr. Emicheline Whitehead, ma'am, former Associate Professor, Department of Education, English Language, Prince Nora Bint Abdurrahman University, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Ma'am, it was a wonderful section. No words to explain how effective, how informative it was. That is, diversity is a mix. Inclusion is making the mix work. Yes, as a practitioner, that we have to practice as teachers, as trainers. That is how we can implement, that is how we can include the diversified students in our classroom. That is, for that, we have to examine ourselves. We have to understand each other. We have to accept everyone as they are. Actually, we are doing is, we are making changes in them. That is not the one. It is well explained by ma'am. She also explained about the education privilege, the gender privilege, the language privilege, that is the three language formula, how we have to choose the three language formula, then the human right privilege, then the unconscious bias we have. That is a bad effect of the halo effect, the horn effect, the affinity bias we have. That is, we have a tendency to accept people like us. Then to propose all of thanks to education and English language. Ma'am, it was a wonderful, that is diversity that we have to practice so we can include the diverse man in ourselves. We are making changes in the gender privilege, the human rights privilege, the affinity bias we have, that is single comparison, teacher education, since we have to propose what of the process, Department of Education. Ma'am, it was a one pass. It is diversity biases. And she also explained very well the blind spot, the hidden bias we already have as human beings, which will hinder ourselves from inclusion. How to overcome these blind spots. Ma'am, we are thankful for this wonderful section. That is, we cannot exclude any words from your presentation. That is, every point are so informative and so explanatory. Yes. And she also explained about the national education policy relationship. That is how the inclusion is included in the national education policy 2020. That in a nutshell, it is very informative. Also, then she also explained the requirements for an inclusive classroom, for the membership, the relationship, the skills, etc., and the inclusion strategies. And the very informative one is the inclusive lesson plan. That is how we are in our classrooms, we are using the same type of lesson plan for all this. That is, we are using the lesson plan for all the people. That is, we are not considering the diversity of the students. So she also explained the inclusive lesson plan. It is a very informative section, very effective. It is also clear from the chat box that how it was so informative and effective. And another point is that she is so powerful. It is how we are type of lesson plan for all this. That is true. She also is clear from the chat box that how her words are so powerful that the people. She also explained the info from the chat box that how it was practice in our classrooms as teachers and trainers. So on the behalf of all the team members from Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University and from NSS Training College Pandalam, I express my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. M. Shilin, ma'am, for giving a wonderful section. Thank you very much. Once again,
thank you so
a
much.
very
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chitra. Thank you, Chitra.
Thank you very much.
Ranjani, please start, please.
Shall we move on to
Yes,
validation?
yes.
Dr. Srividya, it's over to you.
Teacher, is it clear?
Yes,
Hope
yes,
it's clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Please start.
I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. Together we can do great things, said Mother Teresa once. We are all different, which is great because we are all unique. What makes you different is what makes you beautiful, and diversity is nothing but the art of thinking independently together. Dear teachers, always remember that you are all unique just like everyone else. So let us be the celebrators and celebrants of diversity in our classrooms. Most valued chief guests, esteemed dignitaries, honorable resource persons, respected teachers, dear students, scholars and friends. Namaste, Vanakkam, good evening to one and all. For the last 7 days, we have been undergoing diverse experiences. And we are getting exposed to diverse talks. We are getting connected to diverse personalities with diverse thoughts and attitudes and deeds. So I'm damn sure with these diverse factors in mind, we will be able to celebrate and cherish diversity in our society, family, and all the more in our schools. Now we are at the end of the international seminar on online platform on honoring student diversities, mechanisms and practices jointly organized by the two prestigious institutions in India, Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai, and Internal Quality Assurance Cell of NSS Training College, Pandalam, Kerala. Before moving on to the formal valedictory session, let me remember with gratitude the honorable guiding souls of this webinar, Professor Dr. N. Panchanadam Sir, patron of the webinar, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai. So we are very much obliged and committed to your services. Professor V. Balakrishnan Sir, Registrar in Charge, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, who is a co-patron, and Professor M. Govindan Sir, Dean and Head, Department of Educational Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, the convener, being the one of the conveners of the webinar. We are blessed with your support, sirs. Now, let me get started the formal session of the valedictory meeting. We are gifted with the presence of Professor M. Govindan Sir, Dean of Faculty and Head, Department of Educational Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai, who is the convener, one of the conveners of our webinar. With deep sense of gratitude, respect, and honor, I invite Professor Govindan Sir to welcome the gathering. We would like to hear from you, sir, please.
Sir, unmute him. Sir, unmute. Sir. Sir, Dr. Govindan, sir, unmute. Sir, unmute. Voice is not audible, sir. Voice is not audible. Excuse me, sir. Sir, அது திருப்பி எடுத்துட்டு ஜாயின் இது இயர்போன் எடுத்துட்டு மாட்டுங்க.
Hello.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. No, sir. Okay, sir. Okay. Sir. Sir, excuse me, sir. Sir, excuse me, sir. Again, it is not audible, sir.
Now it's okay?
Okay.
Something went wrong. Please try again.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Sir. அது கொஞ்சம் லூசா இருக்குன்னு நினைக்கிறேன் சார். அந்த ஹெட்போன் இல்லாம கூட ட்ரை பண்ணி ஹெட்போன் இல்லாம ட்ரை பண்ணுங்க சார். Okay, sir.
Is it okay?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. So, good evening to all. It's a pleasure and a great honor for me to welcome our most respected and honorable Vice Chancellor and respected Registrar for this valedictory function on the one-day international webinar on honoring student diversities mechanism and practices, jointly organized by Center for Capacity Building Program for School Teachers of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University and NSS Training College, Pandalam, Kerala. I utilize the platform to welcome the most respected Professor Vijay Kumar Sir, Regional Director, Eastern Regional Committee and Deputy Secretary, Regulation and Academic Regulation and Legal Division of NCTA, New Delhi, for accepting our invitation and sparing his valuable time, precious time to deliver the presidential address in this one-week international webinar on honoring student diversities, mechanisms, and practices. This is the right time to say a few words about our guest, Professor Vijay Kumar sir. Simply say, sir is very simple and humble. He is a man of easily approachable person. He did a lot for our university and also is the well-wisher for all of our staff members, especially Professor Mani and me. He helped a lot personally as well as academically. On behalf of the organizing team, that is Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University and the NSS Training College, Kerala, I wholeheartedly welcome you, sir. Professor Vijay Kumar, sir.
Thank you so much. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you,
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
I wholeheartedly welcome Professor V.K. Usha Devi, Principal, NSS Training College, Kerala, who is going to deliver the valedictory address in this one-week international webinar. I welcome you, madam. Next, I welcome my colleague and one of the organizing secretary of this webinar, Dr. T. Sivasati Rajamal, Assistant Professor, Department of Education Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Dr. Ranjani Devi, Assistant Professor, NSS Training College, Kerala, and Dr. S. R.O.K. Elizabeth Josephine, Assistant Professor, Stella Mitna College of Education, Chennai, for organizing this wonderful seminar during this COVID period. Last but not least, I welcome all the participants from across the country to take part in this online webinar. On behalf of the organizing team, I welcome all the participants. I once again welcome you all for this international webinar. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much for the words. Sincerity and hard work are what makes the real miracles happen. It's hard to beat a person who never gives up. Here, we have got an excellent epitome of hard work and sincerity, an exceptionally dedicated and determined woman who has proved that excellence is never an accident. With great pleasure and honor, let me invite Dr. T. Shivashakti Rajamal, Assistant Professor, Coordinator, Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai, to introduce the chief guest of our day. We would love to hear from you, ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. A very good evening to you all. It's a moment of great privilege and honor for me to extend a hearty welcome to all of you today at this memorable event of 7 days International Online Webinar on honoring student diversities, mechanisms, and practices for valedictory session on behalf of Center for Capacity Building Program for School Teachers, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Chennai, and NSS Training College, Pandala. I take this opportunity to welcome and introduce our chief guest and guest of honor, most respected Dr. Vijay Kumar sir, Regional Director of the Eastern Regional Committee and Deputy Secretary to National Council for Teacher Education, New Delhi, for Academic Regulation and Legal Division, for rendering his precious time and blessing us with his esteemed presence here today. A leader is one who knows the way. A leader is one who goes the way. A leader is one who shows the way. A person always doing this best becomes a natural leader just by an example. My role as a leader is always to keep my people cheered up, optimistic, and ready to play full out in the face of change and challenge. This is the mantra of our chief guest, Dr. Vijay Kumar sir. Leadership is the art of influencing others. A successful leader gets the things done, whether it is simple or complex, easy or difficult, possible or impossible, with a single smile, a magical smile. A charismatic and influencing leader never scolds, never rebukes, never shows any negativity towards anyone, and never gets angry. An achieving leader is always positive, It's always encouraging. It's always systematic. It's always planning for short-term and long-term goals. Everyone can be a leader, yet only a select few can become a great leader. Eastern Regional Committee and National Council for Teacher Education, New Delhi, is lucky to have a successful leader, a charismatic influencing leader, an achieving leader, and that administrative leader. Yes, he is none other than Dr. R. Vijay Kumar sir, Regional Director of the Eastern Regional Committee and Deputy Secretary of to National Council for Teacher Education, New Delhi for Academic and Regulation and Legal Division. He has many more credits packed with diamonds and many gems in his crown. Every thought you produce, anything you say, any action you do, it bears your signature. I am very happy to introduce most respected Dr. R. Vijay Kumar, sir, a well-known and popular academic and administrative personality in the field of education. His humanitarian and helping tendency with a sense of concern and simple style has attracted all those who come into contact with him is a green and cherishable memory. At Prevent, he is serving us in the twin capacities of respectable positions. He is in the Regional Director of the Eastern Regional Committee and Deputy Secretary to National Council for Teacher Education, New Delhi. A big round of applause for our Chief Guest Regional Director, Dr. Vijay Kumar sir. A real education is your attitude and behavior with others. It decides your whole personality. He specialized in multimedia technology, guidance and counseling, philosophy of education, environmental education, science education, information and communication technology, and curriculum studies areas. Having completed his doctoral degree in Bangalore University, he has published 14 books to his credit and published many papers in leading national and international journals. Apart from serving as the RP in many conferences and webinars, he has organized many. He has more than 15 years of service in academic and administrative responsibilities. He has completed 2 major research projects, one on Erasmus and capacity building for higher education on CLIL methodology from 2016 to 19 funded by European Union Commission, and another one on environmental ethics among college students from 2012 to 14 funded by UGC. Work experience is the new life experience, no matter what your professional background within your part, but you hold a rich life experience in NCT in New Delhi. He is a multi-faced personality and also an able administrator and a good leader, setting himself as a perfect example of being the lighthouse. He has a lot of work experiences in professional side, and also he took additional responsibilities and several posts in NCTE New Delhi. Teachers are keys that unlock the student's mind. You are a guide who molded the student's mind. You are a one of a kind. He's a very dedicated, passionate, caring, creative, innovative, enthusiastic, and energetic man. He was rewarded a Best Teacher Award. Living example of kindness and selfless service to our education. He is lovable, affectionate, and soft nature. He always encourages the activities for life, provides an outlet for creativity and self-expression, develops to cooperation, and builds self-confidences. He is always bold in his thinking and determined in his action, able to take risk and think creativity about the future. His integrity, honesty, and character are reflected in everything what he does. He is always mindful and aware, attentive to himself and to those around him. He knows how to apply knowledge and perception to his work with genuine and confident. He is a great communicator, philosopher, positive outlook, courageous, passionate, humble, problem solver, honest, motivator, and coachable. He is man of distinct vision and a fountainhead of illuminating ideas and an idol of knowledge, experience, and inspiration to all of us. We found ourselves very lucky to have such a talented and competent personality as a teacher amongst us. Education is our passport to the future of tomorrow, belongs to the people who prepare for it today. We are happy to have such an eminent personality with us to deliver the presidential address in this valedictory function of online international webinar program. Amidst your busy schedule, you are sharing your valuable time with us. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation. We are really very grateful to you, sir. Most respected regional director, sir. I feel very happy for your presence on behalf of the organizing team of Center for Capacity Building Program for School Teachers, TNTU, Chennai, and NSS Training College, Pandalam. I welcome you, sir, for this valedictory function with all my pleasant greetings. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And should I start, sir? I have a flight by 7:30. Please don't mind. I have not yet reached, boarded the flight. And at the outset, I congratulate and compliment the Center for Capacity Building Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University and NSS Training College, Pandalam, for organizing 7 days workshop or international webinar on honoring students' diversity, mechanism, and practice. I'm sure it's really a wonderful experience to be part of it, and I would have attended many of the occasion because I always believe that students are the students are the future citizen of this country. Whatever the development that is going to have or going to witness, it is only by the students. I'm sure the kind of a title that you have chosen was wonderful. You were able to, I'm sure a lot of
மேம் வெளியே இருக்கான்னு பார்க்கலாமா மேம் வெளியே இருக்காங்களான்னு பார்க்கலாமா அட்டெண்டன்ஸ் எஸ் மேம் இருக்காங்க சார் இருக்காங்க மேம் சார்
Sorry, excuse me, sir.
Yes, madam. Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Now
yes,
it's
sir.
audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Wait. Yes, I would like to just brush up the preamble of National Education Policy 2020, which definitely directly or indirectly relates to your topic, honoring students' diversity, mechanism, and practice. So the preamble of National Education Policy categorically says that our education should be more experiential, holistic, integrated, discovery-oriented, learner-centered, discussion-based, flexible, and of course, enjoyable. So this portion is so relevant in order to address the students' activities that is being now carried out in the classroom. This sort of a kind of a deliberations, especially on diversity. As we know that India is a country with diversity, and you will never see anywhere in the world the way India is witnessing the diversity, especially in the classroom context. Diversity is our strength, and every child who goes to a school should always be ignited, should always be encouraged, should always be motivated, inspired by the teachers community. So the kind of if you just respect the students, identifying their own strengths, you should always feel that child is unique and potential. He has all the possibilities, and classroom should serve as a means. Classroom should serve as a platform where all their energy, where all their motivation, the ignition should have a fair chance to spark. Thereby, they become the responsible citizen of this country. No doubt, country is witnessing various hips and bounds, and I'm sure that sort of a kind of a changes that we are bringing, it is only in education that can bring in. So the education should always be considered as one of the important agent of change, reforms or the transformation. and the number of participants that are participated in the 7 days programs might have witnessed by various resource person how best teacher is a only soul, teacher is a only art, teacher is a only emotional strength who can meet the minds, who can read the minds, and who can ignite the minds of the people. No doubt India has its own diversity in terms of race, ethnicity, culture, socioeconomic status, language, caste, creed, color, other social stigmas and social structure and function. And the role of a teacher is very, very important in order to address the diversity. No doubt it's important to acknowledge student diversity in a classroom setting because child comes from various background, child comes from various cultural context, and until and unless teacher identify that strengths, and it's very difficult to take them to expected lines. I can again remind of 1964 State Commission, Education Commission or Kotari Commission. They said destiny of the nation is being shaped in the classroom, which means the entire personality, attitude, behavior, or a kind of an emotional attachment of a child is truly shaped, molded in the classroom. So that is how the commission opined that destiny is being shaped in the classroom. And once they become responsible citizen, it reflects the way, the background, the cultural context, the classroom context with which they became responsible. That is what the kind of an attitude of a teacher, the kind of a motivation that he always tries to ignite the mind of the students is solely responsible teacher. It is only with the responsible teacher. So teacher is the only source who can ignite the spark or who can ignite the minds of the students. I'm sure this 7 days workshop or an international webinar might have oriented on a various dimensions and domains of the diversity in terms of its mechanism and practices. No doubt practice is one of the important aspects of teacher education, or the way people are going to be trained, the way then they are going to train the students community. So addressing the student is at this point of time is a big challenge because Google is equal to a guru. So the kind of a role and responsibility of a guru has to be ensured because Google is equally competent except a few other attributes which teacher can only give, guru cannot give. So in this context, I wholeheartedly congratulate the entire team who involved and participated in the 7 days program and honoring students' diversity in terms of its mechanics and practices would have benefited the entire participants. I congratulate wholeheartedly Professor Govindan and Dr. Shivashakti Rajamal and Dr. Ranjini Devi, Dr. V.K. Usha Devi, and Dr. S. Arogya Elizabeth Josephine for initiating this sort of an event of the concern and care. See, the way you are organizing, I've also witnessed on various platforms. I'm sure this sort of an activity should always continue, and I wholeheartedly congratulate on behalf of the National Council for Teacher Education in addressing the relevant topics, taking the students as the core issue of deliberations and discussions. From my bottom of my heart, I wholeheartedly congratulate and compliment to continue with your own energy and spirit with which you are organizing this sort of an events. So if you allow me, I take a leave and once again, congratulate the entire team for having given me this opportunity. And if possible, I'll try to join in another occasion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. It's great to be with you on this occasion. Thank you. Now, a dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and passion. Let me invite Dr. Ranjini Devi S., Assistant Professor, and coordinator of NSS Training College, IQSC coordinator of NSS Training College, Pandalam, Kerala. A woman of integrity, endurance, being nicknamed maybe during this webinar as super smart. Yeah, and who is one of the organizing secretaries to make us have a look into the webinar highlights at a glance. It will be a pleasure listening to you, ma'am, please.
Thank you, Dr. Srividya. Distinguished Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University and the patron of this webinar, Dr. N. Panjanathan sir, Honorable Regional Secretary NCT, Dr. R. Vijaykumar sir, respected Registrar and co-patron, Professor V. Balakrishnan sir, conveners of the webinar, Professor M. Govindan sir, Dean of Faculty and Head, Department of Educational Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and Dr. V. K. Usha Devi Ma'am, Principal, NSS Training College, Pandalam, the vibrant and lively organizing secretary, Dr. Shivashakti Rajamal, the energetic organizing joint secretaries and team members, scholarly resource persons, novel participants, and friends. With all your consent, I would like to present the report of the international webinar. Center for Capacity Building Programs for School Teachers, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and Internal Quality Assurance Cell, NSS Training College, Pandalam, have jointly organized a 7-day international webinar on honoring student diversities, mechanisms and practices from September 13 to September 19, 2020. Professor Dr. N. Panchanathan sir, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, and the patron of the webinar, has presided over the inaugural function and delivered the presidential address. The first technical session was led by Dr. Jaya Jawaharlal, founder principal, Bright Rider School, Al Karbia, Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, on the topic Technological Unity for Students' Diversity. Second day, the session was led by Dr. Rosuma Philip, Principal, Mount Abu Training College, Pathanapuram, Kerala, on the theme Teacher Preparation for Embracing Student Diversity. For third day, the leader of the academic session was Dr. M. Prabhavati, Director, Center for Differently Abled Persons, Bharatidasan University, Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu, on Inclusion for Equity in Education. Fourth day of scholastic endeavor was under the leadership of Dr. Robert Clive G., Associate Professor, Department of Social Sciences, Crossland College, Brahmavaru, Udupi, Karnataka, on the topic Building a Caring and Supportive Learning Community, a Holistic Response to Student Diversities. Fifth day witnessed the academic session by Dr. Sushil Ampal, Professor and Head, Department of Education, NM Kavi College for Women, Bengaluru, Karnataka, on the sub-theme Creating a Positive Classroom Climate for Diversity. Next day, Dr. Ravi Govindaraj, Head, Training and Development, Integral Group Holding, Qatar, led the session on the sub-theme Manage the Teenage to Handle the Chalk and the Challenge. On the final day of the webinar, the session was led by Dr. Evangeline Whitehead, former Associate Professor, Department of Education and English Language, Princess Noor bin Abdul Rahman University, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The topic of discussion was Embracing Diversity, a Practitioner's View. All the resource persons have meticulously woven all the sub-themes to fit into the title of the webinar to give a holistic experience to the participants. The session was followed by valedictory function. The program was presided over by Dr. R. Vijaykumar, Regional Director, Eastern Regional Committee, Deputy Secretary, Academic Regulation and Legal Division in CTE. The valedictory section on 19 September 2020 manifested the fruitful completion of the webinar. We, the organizing team, hope that these 7 days might have sensitized the participants to realize that individually we can only become a drop, but together we can become an ocean where diversity can be celebrated and cherished. Before concluding my presentation, I would like to say a few words more. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to those who helped to reach this day and this time. First of all, I have to thank the magnanimous Vice Chancellor of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University for his encouragement and great words of motivation. Thank you, sir. And I'm also deeply thankful to my very dear friend, the one and only Dr. Shivashakti Rajamal, who is the root cause for this collaborative endeavor. Words are not enough to express my gratitude for
Thank you so much, ma'am.
How she supported me, motivated me, and guided me. Thank you so much, dear ma'am. And thank you, my very beloved principal, my beloved colleagues, and all other organizing team members for the support and encouragement. Finally, I am deeply indebted to God Almighty for all his blessings, which helped me to complete this venture. Once again, thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ranjini teacher. It was great to hear you, ma'am. Thank you. Now, success is more permanent when you achieve it without destroying your principles. In this regard, we are very lucky, we are very honored to have Dr. V.K. Usha Devi teacher as our principal of NSS Training College, Pandalam. She has been a source of motivation for us, and she is a person who stands on her principles every time at any cost. Today, she was assigned the duty of delivering the valedictory address, valedictory message, but due to some inconveniences, due to continuous rain and internet failure, electricity failure, she is not able to, unfortunately, she is not able to join on live. So I take this opportunity, I do apologize to all the participants and resource persons for her inconvenience. It is an unexpected inconvenience. So we miss you, ma'am. Dr. Usha teacher, we miss your inspiring, definitely we miss your inspiring message and your motivating speech. So once again, I do apologize for the inconvenience. Sorry. Next, I move on to the last part of our webinar. I'm delighted to invite Dr. S. Arokya Elizabeth Josephine, Assistant Professor, Stella Metutina College of Education, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, to propose the vote of thanks. Ma'am, please, the platform is yours.
Thank you, ma'am. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His steadfast love endures forever. I deem it a great honor to propose a vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this one-week international webinar on honoring student diversities, mechanisms, and practices. Such a resounding success, which is organized by Center for Capacity Building for School Teachers, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, in collaboration with Internal Quality Assurance Cell, NSS Training College, Pandalam, Kerala. I express my sincere gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor N. Panjanathan Sir, the patron of this webinar, for his tremendous initiative, constant motivation, and encouragement in organizing this one-week international webinar. Thank you, sir. I also record my deep and sincere gratitude to our today's special guest, Dr. R. Vijayakumar, Regional Director, Eastern Regional Committee, Deputy Secretary, Academic Regulation and Legal Division, NCTE, New Delhi, for his motivational presidential address and extending tremendous support and for his encouragement and meticulous guidance. We are truly humbled by your presence, sir. Thank you. I keep on record of indebtedness to the co-patrons of this webinar, Professor V. Balakrishnan, Registrar of Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, for his incredible support in organizing this webinar. Thank you, sir. I take this opportunity to thank the conveners of this webinar, Professor M. Govindan sir, Controller of Examinations, Dean of Faculty, and Head of the Department of Educational Psychology, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Dr. V.K. Usha Devi, Principal, NSS Training College, Pandalam, Kerala, for devoting their time, stupendous guidance, and their moral support. Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am. We would also like to acknowledge our resource persons, Professor Dr. Dr. Jawaharlal, Founder Principal, Bride Rider School, then Dr. Rosama Philip, Kollam, Kerala, Principal, Mount Tabu Training College. Then Dr. M. Prabhavati, Director, Center for Differently Abled Persons, Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu. Dr. Robert Clive, Associate Professor, Department of Social Sciences, Crossland College, Karnataka. Dr. Shushil Ambal, Professor and Head, Department of Education, NMKRV College for Women, Karnataka. Dr. Ravi Govindaraj, Head and Training and Development Integral Group Holding, Qatar. And Dr. Evangeline Whitehead, ma'am, Princess Nod, former Associate Professor, Department of Education and English Language, Princess Nora bin Abdul Rahman University, Saudi Arabia. Our esteemed speakers who took their time out of their busy schedule and showered us with their pearls of wisdom and knowledge. Thank you all. I must mention my deep sense of appreciation for the organizing secretary of this webinar. I'm happy to express my thanks to Dr. T. Sivashakti Rajamal, Assistant Professor, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Dr. Ranjani Devi, Assistant Professor, IQC Coordinator, NSS Training College, Pandalam, for their tremendous support for organizing this webinar. Without, especially Dr. Sivashakti Rajamal, without their support, we would not have succeeded in organizing this webinar. Thank you, ma'am. I take this opportunity to extend my gratitude to all our organizing joint secretaries and committee members, Dr. P. Subramanian sir, Dr. K. Ratishwari ma'am, Dr. Balamurugan sir, Tamil Assistant Professor, Professors of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, Dr. Sri Vinda Nair, Assistant Professor, Dr. Tara S. Nair, Assistant Professor, Dr. Padma Priya ma'am, Assistant Professor of NSS Training College, Pandalam, and also members of our capacity building program, Dr. Joseph Catherine, Principal, Stella Matutino College of Education, Dr. K. Mohan, Deputy Registrar, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Mr. K. S. Anpuselvam, CEO, EXO Chairman, Mr. R. Tirupati, Dr. T. Premalata ma'am, Assistant Professor, Department of Education, Bharatiyar University, Coimbatore, Dr. S. Vijayalakshmi, alumnus, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, Mr. S. Arokya Swami, Tamil Nadu Teachers Education University, PhD scholar, Mr. Agustin Jabakumar, and all the members of NSS Training College, Pandalam, Assistant Professors, Dr. Ajimol, Associate Professor, Dr. Suma, Associate Professor, Dr. Chitra, Assistant Professor, Dr. Binduraj, Assistant Professor, Mrs. Anju Krishna, Assistant Professor, Mrs. Dayashri, Assistant Professor, Dr. Sri Lekha, Assistant Professor, Dr. Lakshmi, Assistant Professor, Dr. Indu, Assistant Professor, Dr. Vinod Kumar, Assistant Professor, Dr. Sri Vidya Nair, Assistant Professor, Mrs. Uma Devi, Assistant Professors of NSS Training College for their cooperation and continuous support. Thank you all. Furthermore, let's have a special recognition to all the participants who remained patient throughout and encouraged our speakers with the enthusiastic involvement. Thank you so much for being our pillars of support. I thank all the participants, richly deserve our gratitude for your active participation throughout this webinar. The end of the story is a new beginning for many others. And on behalf of Tamil Nadu Teacher Education University, in collaboration with NSS Training College, Pandalam, Kerala, we sincerely promise you that in the coming days too, we will keep on organizing such proceedings related to the field with some more innovative ideas to nourish your mind and fill you with more knowledge. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for the great words. Thank you, ma'am, for the great words of gratitude. So, distinguished guests, yet another day of diversity comes to an end, and let it be a short break for some time. Hope you meet on another platform with all the honorable resource persons on another occasion. And thank you for being with us. And it's a pleasure to be being with you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Srinitya, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Evangeline, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Very much.
Thank you,
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very
Dr. Anjani, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Premalata,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Shivashakti,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Dr. Josephine, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Rajakumar, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Chitra, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Suma, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Jawaharlal, sir.
You are welcome, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Usha Devi, ma'am. And thank you, our Vice Chancellor, most respected Vice Chancellor, and
Madam Sushilambal, madam.
most respected Registrar, and thank you, our Dean, most respected Dean, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Sushilambal, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Padma Priya, ma'am.
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, all the panelists, and thank you very much, respected all the participants. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all participants.
Thank you very much.
For participating.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Premalata, thank you, Dr. Bhai. Dr. Anjani, ma'am.
Oh, thank you.
Ranjani madam, thank you
After
so
one
much.
month, we will meet another program. After
Let's
1
hope
month.
so, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
For your
Premalata ma'am,
cooperation
thank
and
you.
kindness.
Thank you,
so
ma'am.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evangeline madam, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Javagar sir, thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. I think as a good team, you have done
Yes.
wonderful job. God
Jawad
bless
sir
you
and
all.
Dr. Evangeline, ma'am, our family, capacity
Thank
building
you for the great
Thanks
words.
a lot. Thank you for accepting. Thank you for
Thank
accepting
you.
me. Thanks a lot.
Resource persons for your family.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. And Rajakumar sir also. Rajakumar
And
sir.
I don't find Dr. Ravi Govindaraj now for some time.
He may
left,
be for some
other
other
work.
work, ma'am.
Okay,
I
fine.
don't know,
fine,
ma'am.
okay.
He left, ma'am.
Ranjini teacher,
Oh, yes, Vidya.
can we leave? Ranjini
Can
teacher.
we
Thank
leave,
you, ma'am.
ma'am?
Thank you,
Srishti
ma'am.
ma'am?
Thank you.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you,
Thank you very much.
No, ma'am, you just proceed with your informal talk. I'm just asking,
Yes,
can I
ma'am.
leave?
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, the master of ceremony is asking.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Dr. Srividya, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. With
Thank you very
pleasure.
much.
Nice comparing, ma'am. Nice face. Nice looking. You're looking.
Thank you, Srividya, madam. Dr.
Thank you,
Srividya,
sir.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
You have kept up your promise. Really, I always appreciate the people who always keep up the promise.
Yeah.
God bless you. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Rajkumar. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jawahar sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You are
Thank
welcome,
you
madam.
all.
We will keep in touch. God bless
Yes,
you.
thanks a lot. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for your
Thank you so much,
blessings.
ma'am.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Ananda. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm
Dr.
just take a
Anjani, ma'am.
leave.
Dr. Anjani, ma'am. Bye.
Bye.
தமிழ்ல சொல்லுங்க ஏதாவது. வணக்கம், நன்றி, வணக்கம் சொல்லுங்க.
வணக்கம், நன்றி.
நன்றி, வணக்கம். மலையாளத்துல சொல்லு, என்ன சொல்லணும்?
நன்றி.
நன்றி, நன்றி. அனைவருக்கும் நன்றி. Okay.
Super smart, Ranjini, madam.
Yes,
Sweet voice.
Yes, sir.
God bless you.
24/7 விட்டுட்டீங்க சார்.
Java sir, thank you so much.
God bless you. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
நான் யாரை விட்டுட்டேன்? யாரை விட்டுட்டேன்னு சொன்னாங்களே? நான் யாரையும் விடலையே.
சார் 24/7 விட்டுட்டீங்களே.
இல்ல அவர்தான் நம்ம ஃபேமிலில ஒன் ஆஃப் தி மெம்பர் இல்ல.
மேடம், அவங்க நீங்க ரெண்டு பேரும் ரெண்டு கண்ணா இருக்கீங்க.
நீங்க ஸ்மார்ட் 16 சார். எவர்கிரீன்.
Thank you for.
எவர்கிரீன்.
Ma'am, I highly appreciate there are 92 participants are still with us.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I really am thankful to all of you, those who are listening to us. Thank you very much.
Family விட்டு அவங்களுக்கு பிரிய மனசே இல்ல.
Yes.
Madam, permanent family members, ma'am.
Permanent family.
Yes. Even though I'm not seeing you all right now, there are 91.
Thank you so
Thanks a lot. Thank you very
so
much.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Thanks to
lot.
Rajkumar also. Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Ma'am, I just take a leave.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ananda.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
sir.
Bye.
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 Bye, Premalatha ma'am. Bye, Ranjani ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Once
Bye,
again,
Shivashakti ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.